Alright guys, Darren from Honest Money and welcome back to another video. So in this week's video, we are going to be taking another look at UK house prices and trying to predict where things might go in the next year or so. If you're a new buyer or whether you're thinking of moving or even if you're thinking of just selling up, hopefully this video will give you something to think about. I'm not going to try and push you one way or another. I don't know where house prices are going to go. I don't think anyone can, and looking at what has happened over the last year, I don't think anyone could have predicted that either. But in this video, I'm going to give you some reasons why house prices may retain support and may continue going up. And also going to give you some reasons why house prices may go down. And then you can make your own decision. And at the end of the video, I'm going to make my prediction for the next year, just like I did in last year's video. And also what we'll do is we'll compare my predictions from last year to what actually happened. Spoiler alert, I was woefully wrong. But anyway, let's jump into the video and go through what I think will happen with house prices over the next year or so. But before I do that, let's go through some of the factors that are supporting house prices at the moment and may continue to do so in the future. So number one is relocation for lifestyle preferences. So many people have been able to enjoy, or hopefully enjoy, working from home due to all of the lockdowns that we've had over the past year or so. And a number of people are either going to be able to work from home permanently or partially going forward. So what that has led to is a large percentage of house buyers, well, I say a large percentage, a good chunk of house buyers wanting to relocate to more rural areas. And I've been one of these people. I tried to move myself a couple of months ago from a semi-urban area to more of a rural location, but there was just such huge demand and competition in those rural locations that we had to knock it on the head. So that is the first reason that I'm expecting house prices to stay strong, is there is massive demand for this relocation for different lifestyle preferences to what people have been used to in the past. Up next is the shortage of new instructions or new listings. So there are very few properties actually coming onto the market compared to how many buyers there are. If I give you an example, one of the last properties we tried to view before we gave up, it had been on Rightmove less than an hour. I called up and they said they'd already taken so many viewings, they wouldn't actually let us view the property. And only a week before that, we actually viewed a property and we overbid on the asking price by about £20,000. And we were told there are multiple bidders above us. So there is huge competition at the moment. And a lot of that is driven because there is such a shortage of new listings coming on to the market. Up next, we have the mortgage guarantee scheme, which is launched by the government in April. This is basically the government acting as guarantor for 95% loan to value mortgages. So if you're a new buyer, this is also available to existing buyers as well. But if you're a new buyer, all it means is you only need a 5% deposit. So if you're buying a house for maybe £400,000, you'd only need to find, say, £20,000, which makes things a lot more manageable than if you, say, for example, need a 10% deposit, then you'd need £40,000. So the mortgage guarantee scheme will probably help keep the wheels in motion, as it will help a lot of people with smaller deposits get on to the housing market. We also have continued low interest rates. I didn't think they could go any lower, but they went lower last year, which is crazy. We're not expecting interest rates to go up, although I will come back to this on the next slide when I give you one of the reasons why house prices could actually go down. But interest rates are historically low. We're expecting them to remain low, which means mortgage debt is as cheap as it's ever going to be. And because of that, people are buying bigger, more expensive houses than they would previously be able to afford. So those low interest rates are supporting the house market at the moment, but at the same time, could be the carpet that when it's pulled away, causes the whole thing to come tumbling down. Up next, we have population growth. So I tried to find the most up-to-date statistics that I could. So in 2019-2020, the UK built 243,000 new homes, and that was a 33-year high. So that was quite an impressive year for the UK from a house or a home building perspective. But at the same time, there was a 0.53% population growth. So despite the loss of population due to COVID, we still grew by 355,000 people. So over 100,000 more people than there were homes last year, and we're going to expect that to continue going forward. So all the time there are more people than there are homes, the demand is only ever going to go up. We also have some remaining pent-up demand, and this is something I touched on last year where I talked about pent-up demand from Brexit and the uncertainty around that. Well, Brexit is gone through now. It's not fully played out and we're not seeing all of the results of it, but certainly people aren't really actively thinking about that so much as they were. Also with lockdowns that people were holding up, there's some pent-up demand there. And strangely enough, the stamp duty holiday is actually causing some people to hold off because they think house prices are overinflated at the moment, which I'm inclined to agree with. So what they are doing is waiting for the stamp duty holiday to end, and hopefully prices may settle back down a little bit. So there's still some pent-up demand. I myself will probably revisit the market once the stamp duty holiday has passed. Maybe next year I'll see how things are and see if things have settled down. Unfortunately, we also have divorces, so over 100,000 divorces in 2019, and with lockdowns last year, I wouldn't be surprised if that figure went even higher in 2020, which means that everyone involved in that divorce, they're going to effectively need double the homes they currently need. You've got the continued problem of estate agents overvaluing properties to try to land their next instruction. With such a shortage of new listings available, estate agents are going to do everything they can to secure new listings. So I'm expecting them to continue to overvalue properties, which has a self-fulfilling effect of driving prices up. You've still got investors and landlords sitting there waiting to snap up any good deals. I know the tax regime has changed and there's not as much money to be made as there was, or there's more tax to be paid than there was previously. There are still lots of investors and landlords out there waiting. And finally, you have additional government support and stimulus, just like we saw last year when we all expected the housing market to go down. The government stepped in with the stamp duty holiday, which provided that initial catalyst, which maybe isn't still the reason that house prices are going up, but it was certainly the catalyst that caused people to start taking action. So the government could easily introduce additional stimulus, just like they did in April when they introduced the mortgage guarantee scheme. So you can see there are a number of reasons why house prices could stay up and could continue to grow over the next year or two. Now, going against that, we do have some risks to house prices. So initially, we have furlough ending. So more and more people are coming off of the furlough scheme, or they're actually losing their jobs. So furlough is going to be continued to be wound down over the next few months. So there will be more job losses. So that will possibly have an impact on house demand and house prices. The stamp duty holiday is ending, although the fact it's actually ending technically at the end of September, the main benefit ends at the end of this month, which is June 2021. However, there's still a huge amount of demand in the market, so anyone in the market at the moment, and there are a lot of buyers, they're fully aware they're not going to make the maximum benefit from the stamp duty holiday, but it's not putting them off. So the stamp duty holiday ending will have an impact, but I don't think it's going to have the reverse effect that it had when it came in the first place. You've then got mortgage holidays ending as well. So during COVID and during lockdowns, mortgage companies had to offer mortgage holidays for people that were struggling to pay their bills. So these mortgage holidays are going to come to an end, and if people can't afford their bills, there will be repossessions, which will be more houses going onto the market, which may cause prices to go down. High inflation, which is a risk to the low interest rates that I discussed. We're already seeing products starting to cost more. I actually have an Amazon business, so I source stuff from China quite a lot, and we're seeing material cost and shipping costs skyrocket. So I'm expecting that to filter through to the UK customer over the next few months, and I'm expecting that to filter through to inflation, and inflation may go well above the Bank of England's target of 2%, and if it does, they may take action with interest rates. But at the same time, they're in a tough position, as if interest rates go too high, the government can't actually afford our own national debt, which will lead to probably systemic failure. So high inflation is definitely a risk, and for me is probably the biggest risk to this whole housing market at the moment. But I could be completely wrong. We also have a lot more people returning to work, which could mean work from home is actually cancelled for some people, or it's reduced, which might actually put a kind of a kink into chain for some of those people that were looking to relocate to the country. We're going to have some regretful movers as well. So people that have moved to the country because they think it's what they want to do. Once they spent 6 months in the cold, in the country, in the wet, they might decide actually they don't want to live there long term. So we might see some houses come back onto the market in a year or two that have only just completed. But that's just my own theory. That may not happen. We've also got the issue that despite the fact the government have introduced a 95% mortgage scheme, first-time buyers could still be priced out. With property prices going ever higher, first-time buyers need to find bigger and bigger deposits. So first-time buyers could be priced out, and if first-time buyers disappear, then we have no bottoms of the chains, so no one will ever be able to move. Then finally, house prices are outpacing wage growth. So the average house price in Q4 2020 was just over £250,000 across the UK. Now, I know some of you in the southeast are laughing at the fact the average house price is only £250,000, and some people up north are looking at it thinking, how much is the average house price? But these are just national figures, and that's based on average earnings of around £30,000. So house prices are over 8 times average earnings in the UK at the moment. I'm just going to take you over to a website now and show you why that is such a problem. So this line graph shows average house prices versus earnings over the past, 175 years, is that roughly? Yeah, around 175 years. But if we just focus on modern times, so let's say post World War II, house prices were generally somewhere between 4 to 6 times the average salary. And then as we got kind of towards the end of the noughties, we got up to over 8 times the average salary. And we all know what happened in 2007 and 2008. So things dropped back down to around 7 times. And now we've gone back up, and with the house prices that we're seeing at the moment in Q1 of 2021, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets to kind of maybe 9 or even 10 times over the next year or so. And if that happens, it just means things are very, very fragile in my opinion. So it's just something to be aware of, that currently house prices are so much above average earnings in the UK. So hopefully that's given you some things to think about factors supporting house prices and also potential risks to house prices. Now, what I want to do on this next slide is see how I got on with my predictions from last year's video. So overall, I predicted a drop across the UK nationally of 5% by mid-2021. Now, we're not quite at mid-2021 with the latest figures, but so far, based on April 2021, we've seen an 8.9% increase. So I was out by 13.9%. I predicted the biggest drop in London, as we were talking about people relocating from London to rural areas. So that actually happened, but the London house prices didn't drop. They actually increased by 3.3%. I also thought the South as a whole would potentially drop, but just not as much as London. So I thought it was going to drop by 5%, but it actually went up by 5%. So I was 10% out there. And I predicted very little movement in the North. However, things have gone up between 10 to 15%, depending on the region you are looking at. So I think that shows that anyone that tries to predict house prices, including myself, we should just be taken with a pinch of salt. But saying that, I'm still going to offer a prediction for 2021, 2022. So I'm expecting to see continued growth in 2021, and I wouldn't be surprised if the annual growth by the end of this year was around about the 10% mark. As we move into 2022, I expect prices to level off. We might even see a small drop, kind of almost a dead cat bounce, but in reverse. So we're going to peak and then pull back a little bit. And then after that, I think we're just going to see prices go sideways, which I'm going to call a sustained period of stagnation. So on paper, the property will be worth the same amount, but with inflation, it will actually go down in real world value. So for example, if a house was worth £400,000 this year, and next year it was still worth £400,000, but inflation was running at 2%, then effectively that house would have dropped in value by 2%, or around about £8,000. So hopefully you guys have found that useful. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you could scroll down and hit that like button. I'd also really love to hear your own house price predictions for the next year or so. Let me know in the comments, and we'll see how things go in next year's video. And if you want to see more from me, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.